"You're a racist." Those two words have shaken the AFL world to its core, and they're now aimed directly at one of Australian football's most celebrated figures. Kevin Sheedy, the legendary coach with 7 premierships and over 50 years in the game, finds himself at the centre of a bombshell lawsuit that threatens to destroy everything he's built. In March 2024, former North Melbourne star Philip Krakauer filed a class action lawsuit against the AFL, and buried within those legal documents is a shocking claim. Krakauer alleges that around 5 to 10 years ago, Sheedy admitted to him that he encouraged his players to racially abuse the Krakauer brothers during matches in the 1980s. The lawsuit claims this abuse wasn't just hatred, but a calculated coaching tactic designed to gain a tactical advantage. But does this shocking allegation define the man who is also celebrated as a pioneer for Indigenous players? The story of Kevin Sheedy is far more complex than one damning headline, and the truth reveals a legacy of profound contribution and resilience that has been overlooked. The racism allegations paint Sheedy as a villain, but his actual record tells a completely different story. For decades, Kevin Sheedy has been widely recognised as a pioneer of championing the Aboriginal cause in the AFL. This isn't just talk, it's backed by real action that changed the game forever. Sheedy was the primary architect behind one of the AFL's most important cultural events, the annual Dreamtime at the G match between Essendon and Richmond. This fixture, which celebrates the contribution of Indigenous players to the sport, has become a centrepiece of the AFL's Indigenous round. It's not just a game, it's a cultural touchstone that honours Aboriginal heritage every single year. His commitment to Indigenous players runs so deep that in 2009 he was awarded an honorary doctorate from the Australian Catholic University specifically for his services to football, particularly the way he encouraged Aboriginal footballers into the sport. This wasn't some token gesture or publicity stunt. It was recognition of years of genuine advocacy and support for Indigenous talent at the highest levels of the game. When reports surfaced that some club recruiters were hesitant to draft Indigenous players, Sheedy didn't stay silent. He issued a blistering public warning that showed just how seriously he took the fight against racism. He declared that any recruiter with racist ideas would be hunted down and banished from the game, stating we'll definitely smash them out of our game. He went further, calling the infusion of Indigenous talent one of the best decisions when the league went from VFL to AFL, saying Indigenous players have put the dream time into AFL. This public stance wasn't a one-time statement. It was part of a consistent pattern of behaviour that spanned decades. Sheedy used his massive platform and influence to actively promote Indigenous players and condemn racism wherever he found it. His track record stands for itself, as he put it, when responding to the recent allegations. The man who stands accused of encouraging racial abuse is the same man who spent years creating opportunities for Indigenous players and using his voice to fight discrimination. But Sheedy's story gets even more complicated when we look at his role in another major AFL controversy, the Essendon supplement saga. Here again, we see a man whose actions were driven by deep loyalty and conviction, even when the world turned against him. It's crucial to understand that Sheedy wasn't at Essendon during the infamous 2012 supplements programme that caused the scandal. He only returned to the club later, taking a position on the board after the worst of the crisis had already unfolded. In June 2022, nearly a decade after the saga began, Sheedy made headlines again by publicly demanding that the AFL should apologise to Essendon for its handling of the crisis. As a sitting board member, his words carried serious weight. His defence was built on one powerful fact that he repeated again and again. There was not one positive drug test out of that whole drug saga, and hasn't been for 10 years. He argued that the players were victims who suffered a penalty of suspicion and were effectively found guilty because they couldn't prove they hadn't taken banned substances. The media reaction was harsh. Veteran reporter Caroline Wilson called his demands nonsensical, and described his conduct as rogue cheerleading. Senior journalist Damien Barrett expressed confusion, saying he had no idea what Kevin Sheedy was doing and that the comments served no purpose at all. But these criticisms missed something important about Sheedy's character. This wasn't reckless behaviour or attention-seeking. This was a man standing up for people he believed had been treated unfairly. Sheedy's frustration was personal and real. He revealed that he was constantly forced to answer questions about the saga at public speaking events, something that drove him insane and prompted his public comments. He wasn't trying to rewrite history or ignore facts. He was fighting for what he saw as justice for players who had been punished without evidence of actual wrongdoing. His loyalty went even deeper than public statements. In late 2022, when Essendon was choosing a new coach, Sheedy revealed that he was the lone board member who voted for James Hird to be reappointed as senior coach. He was extremely disappointed by the 6-1 vote against his preferred candidate. This wasn't political positioning or strategic thinking. This was a man standing by someone he believed in, even when he was completely outnumbered. His support for Hird shows the depth of his character and his willingness to fight for people he cares about, regardless of popular opinion. Beyond the public battles and controversies, Kevin Sheedy has faced private challenges that reveal the man behind the legend. In August 2012, at age 62, he received news that would shake anyone to their core. He was diagnosed with bowel cancer. The disease carried heavy personal meaning for Sheedy, as it had deeply affected his family. His mother had died from bowel cancer just 2 years earlier after a late diagnosis, while his father had survived the same illness after successful surgery. Sheedy noticed the warning signs, including blood in his stool and more frequent bathroom trips. An awareness advertisement and his wife's concerns prompted him to visit his doctor. While initial tests came back clear, his doctor insisted on a follow-up camera test as a precaution. This decision saved his life. The test revealed a tumour in his bowel that required immediate surgery. Because the tumour was caught at an early stage, surgeons were able to remove it completely before it spread. He didn't need chemotherapy or radiation treatment, a result he described with amazing relief. But Sheedy didn't just survive cancer. He turned his personal crisis into a mission to help others. He became a prominent ambassador for the charity Beating Bowel Cancer, using his public profile to raise awareness and encourage early detection. His message was direct and powerful, born from his own close call and his family's painful history with the disease. He spoke candidly about the need to overcome embarrassment, a key barrier that prevents many men from seeking medical help. Don't be embarrassed to go, otherwise you could die of that embarrassment, he urged people. He made it clear that early detection was the key to survival, repeatedly emphasizing that getting tested saved his life. More than a decade after beating cancer, Sheedy faced another frightening health episode. In August 2024, while on holiday on the Sunshine Coast in Queensland, the 76-year-old suddenly collapsed in his hotel room. In his own words, the lights went out and he dropped out of existence for a few hours, only regaining consciousness 2 hours later. He was rushed to a local hospital where he spent several weeks undergoing tests as doctors struggled to identify what had caused the collapse. Ultimately, medical professionals were unable to pinpoint a specific cause, concluding that he had been struck by a very serious virus of unknown origin, possibly contracted during recent overseas travel. The incident forced him to confront his own mortality in a direct and unexpected way. He revealed that the episode made him reflect deeply on his life and legacy. I've always thought that if the doctor rings up and says you've got 3 weeks to live, I've always thought about, have I been happy with what I've done in my life to say I could die peacefully? He explained. His conclusion showed remarkable peace and contentment. If I had have dropped off the perch a couple of months back, I'd say I've done a pretty good effort. Kevin Sheedy's life story is filled with contradictions that make him human rather than just a sporting legend. He's the celebrated advocate for Indigenous talent who now faces racism allegations from decades ago. He's the fierce club loyalist whose passionate defence was criticised by the media as counterproductive. He's the public warrior who seemed invincible in the football arena, but has privately battled serious illness and his own mortality. These contradictions don't diminish his legacy. They make it more complete and real. What emerges from this complex picture is a man driven by deep convictions and unwavering loyalty. Whether fighting for Indigenous players, defending his beloved Essendon, or turning his health struggles into a mission to help others, Sheedy has consistently used his platform and influence to stand up for what he believes in. His strategic mind, famous for its cunning on the football field, has been applied to causes he cares deeply about. His loyalty, sometimes seen as stubborn or misguided, comes from a genuine place of caring for people and institutions that matter to him. The racism allegations are serious and deserve investigation, but they represent claims about events from over 40 years ago that contradict decades of documented advocacy work. His defence of Essendon may have been criticised, but it came from a place of genuine belief that injustice had been done. His health battles show the vulnerability behind the public strength, but also his determination to turn personal struggles into help for others. Kevin Sheedy's story is ultimately one of a man who refused to stay silent when he believed something was wrong. Whether creating the Dreamtime match, fighting for Indigenous players, defending his club, or encouraging people to get cancer screenings, he has consistently used his voice and influence to make a difference. His legacy is complex and sometimes controversial, but it's also filled with genuine contribution and positive impact that has touched countless lives. What are your thoughts on Kevin Sheedy's incredible and complicated journey? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe for more deep dives into sports history.